This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code Ruff Talk VR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. We're joined with another, what I'm guessing is going to be great interview. Today we have Ana Ribeiro. I love how her Twitter bio describes it. It says, game creator, director, and cosplayer for Pixel Ripped, a game made by Arvore Immersive. They just had their kind of third iteration. There's Pixel Ripped 1995, and inside that there's a DLC, but you could argue that's almost a standalone game. And they just had their newest Pixel Ripped 1978 drop, which is in partnership with Atari. So pretty big stuff.
Yeah, that put a big smile on my face.
Yeah. So Ana, do you mind to introduce yourself a little bit for our listeners and tell them, who you are and how you got started in the gaming industry?
Thanks for having me here. It's great being with you guys. So I'm the creator and director of Pixel Ripped. I work with Arvore since the beginning in the company, over 6 years now. But I started with VR back in the DK1 times, 2006, 2014, 13. I got my developer kit, Oculus Rift 1. It was 2013. And I was studying when I started with VR, right? I'm not gonna when I start my life. Otherwise it's too long. But I was doing a master's degree in game design in England. It was a 2 year course, and then I was really lucky to meet other student from the year ahead of me. He had a headset and he was doing a project, and I tried VR for the first time. It was just like mind blowing. It was still early days. We are still in the early days of the industry, but for me, it was the first time I had VR experience, and I was like, love first sign. I got my headset, and I just can't design games for VR. I don't know what happened, but every time I think about a game, it just puts me down if it's not VR. It just feels like everything can be so much more, so much bigger with VR. So yeah, I have been working. It's gonna be it's 10 years now. Oh my god, yeah, 2013. I've been working 10 years of VR. Pixel Ripped was a student project of mine at the time, so it was 2014, and I started the project from the ground for VR, and then long journey, indie game developer journey, till I found Arvore in 2017, and we joined forces and released the first game, which is now a DLC inside the DLC you mentioned, which is inside the which is inside 1995. It was first released for PC back in 2018. We released the first episode, and this was for PlayStation. It's on PlayStation. It's on PlayStation VR 1. We still have to make it available for the PlayStation VR 2. It's an old game now. It was an evolution of my student project, I would say, like that. And then we had to put it the DLC inside 1995 because we're not allowed to release it. Oculus didn't allow us to release it on a standalone game. So that was the way we found it to release this game for the Quest, I tell you, if I come back in time, I wouldn't do it again because it was so much work. We had to compile both codes together to make this game inside the other game. Whew, it was a lot of work.
Even at the start, you had joked it's too long of a story to start at the beginning, but hey, that's what we love. It kind of sounded like, so you designed Pixel Ripped originally, like conceptually, while you were still in college? You said it was a student project,
Yes,
right?
it was a student project for my master's degree, and I put it online. There is we now call it a proof of concept, but there was like a 15-minute game which was called Pixel Rift at the time. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a Oculus Share was a place where everyone would put online the work they're doing. There was no store at that time, so I finished the project. I was just planning to get a job, maybe, So I had this demo. It was like ready. I was showing in events. We had in the end of the course we go to Eurogame in London. So I thought, why not put it online? And then I put on the Oculus Share, and sadly there was like a score. People could vote and rate the games. And at that time there was not much going on. There was a lot of roller coasters. I don't know if you guys remember that time. It was just
Roller coasters aren't always the best for new VR
This was-
There's
experiences.
still a few roller coasters kicking around.
oh god, it was the era of the roller coasters. Everyone was so tired of so many roller coasters. There was not few games. There was not many games, and I think I was lucky to put the game at that time because I got a lot of attention from YouTubers. Nate played the game. I think it was the first or second YouTuber that played the game, and I was in first place on the rating. And if you're in the first place, the first 5 games would show in the first page when you open Oculus Share. So I got a lot of attention from press and YouTubers, and I was just a student, so I was just like, wow, maybe this game is good. I didn't know if the game was good because uh, at that time, still today, you show VR. Usually, it's the first time people is trying VR, so it's like you make a movie and you're showing people television for the first time. So it's really hard to tell: is this game good? Is VR good? I didn't know. Everyone was just so mind blowing with VR. So it was the first time people that are used to VR like the game. So I thought, okay, maybe the game is good. And I start to get like investors approaching. End Dreams was the first one. End Dreams, the one that releasing now, Ghostbusters. So
Mhm.
I, I was starting to. I had to see lawyers and start to make the company. And I left university. Like I joined a friend of mine. She was British. I couldn't register a company as a Brazilian in England, so I need someone British, and she helped me, and we found the company. And then it was like, okay, let's make this game and work as a developers. And I I left university with this project, and then we started. Okay, the game idea for the course I had was a whole game of 5 levels, which each level which would be one era of video games. It was too big, right? It was and 1978 was the first level, and then you have 1983, 1989, 1995, 1999. It was like each level was one. It was so much work, so we decided, okay, let's make it episode release, and that's when we changed it for let's focus on 1989. And that was like a long journey of 2 or 3 years. We did a Kickstarter, it failed. We got some investment from Meta, which was the first help we got, and then we like have friends helping us when they could. And we had like money to pay rent, and then we got some investment from California. We traveled to Silicon Valley, and there was a Boost VC, which they invest in VR and they invest in cryptocurrency at the time. I missed the opportunity to buy Bitcoin at the time. It was like $1,000 one Bitcoin.
Yeah, not anymore.
Anyway, and then we move on. It was like 2000. I stayed in America. We moved the company to America, and then my co-founder had to leave the company. She lives in England. She has a husband, and she was working in another company, and I stayed there for like a year where I was working another job. And I work at Janus VR. Remember Janus VR? It was a social VR social platform. It still lives there, but I think they crashed like years ago. But it's still living. Janus VR was working there, and I was working with the game. Uh, my friends also working in other jobs and helping when they could. 2016 was like a long year of there was also the hype of VR that kind of went down in 2016. And then 2017, I moved back to Brazil and I joined Arvore. And I found Arvore where published the have been publishing the games, and I joined forces with them. And but until there was a long journey. So 1989 took a long time. If it
So
was 4 years to got finished and released the first game for PC.
what I love about this story is it sounds like your entire game development professional career is in VR. It sounds like the timing was perfect. That VR kicked off while you were in school. And am I correct to say that your entire game development career has been VR, or were you making games before you went to school in England?
Yeah, I was in in this course. We had 1 year where we're doing a bunch of projects. It was like a lot of it was practical course. It was not like a lot of technical. It was more like get hands on and doing projects. So it was like every 4 weeks we would do a game, and there was all these mini small projects. And we did a mobile game, we did a narrative game, and then the last year you had the whole year to do a project that was Pixel Ripped. And before that, I did 1 year of games programming, and in that course there was few games, but it was super hardcore C++ build your game engine. So I tried to make a game in 3D, and then I had to program the camera. It took 1 month. So it was a game to it was a course to learn how to build a game engine. So imagine you're gonna cook I want to cook the cake, right? I was learning to build the kitchen. So it was really hard to get to the cake. That's the only thing I think it's just easy to understand. Imagine you're building like Photoshop or Unity, and then and then the other course I had Unity there. So it was really good for um, give the value of the work, like when you see when everything is done from scratch. It was really good that was my first course. But before this whole thing, I was in another career. I changed careers when I was almost 30 years old. I had a degree in psychology in Brazil. I was working at the Justice Council for 5 years doing divorces.
Mhm.
And then I always sold. That's really random. I sold pies a lot. I ended up start selling pies at work, and then it got too big, and then I it was clients was asking like to build a pie shop. So I started to do this course for small business entrepreneurs, and I was building the pie shop. It was like I had built the second floor. I was painting. Everything was kind of ready to open the shop. Like I was going to open the pie shop in 2 months, something like that. And then I did this course, and then I decided to change careers totally. Like it
I
was
love it,
really
but
good. It was a
were
really
you
good course.
yeah, were you a gaming fan in Brazil growing up? And anybody
Yes.
watching on the video, they're going to see the stuff in the background, like Catan, which exists in VR really good. I see some Mega Man. So you
Yeah.
got quite the gaming collection. So were you a gaming fan? You know, growing up your whole life, or what caused the you to make the jump to take that course?
Yeah, that was video games had been the only consistent thing in my life. Like I look back and I was like, wow, I did so much things that like I did kickboxing, I did belly dance for 7 years, I did, but everything was just like going, coming, and now I'm surfing, now playing volleyball. But video games is since I am a kid, I had been my life, like I had three brothers, and when I born, there was already video games in my house. We had an Atari, there was an Odyssey, and the first memory I have is actually my father arriving with the. We had the Odyssey and he arrived with the Atari. Yeah, it's my first memory as a person. He arrived with this thing. And I remember everyone was in the living room waiting for. It was this big thing happening, and he was saying that this would control the television, and we all like, wow, this controls the television. And everyone was, it was such a like a weird moment. And I remember this. And we grew up playing like with my brothers. Like we had I had the opportunity to live the evolution of game industry, like the 80s and the 90s. It seemed like Mega Man and Mario, all these characters changing, evolving to 3D. It was crazy, right? I think it would never happen again like the way it happened in the 80s. And I was really lucky to live this. And I think that's like the main inspiration for Pixel Ripped is actually this experience. when I was like in my teenager times, I also was Counter Strike team. I had a team with my friends, and we had this female Counter Strike team, and this was like the start of the professional gamers. I was like, we had support from the cyber cafe, so we would get T-shirts and subscription for competitions, and we're like, yeah, we're professionals. We don't have to pay to go to the cyber cafe. We felt so cool. We're like, wow, we're professional gamers.
What
And
version of Counter Strike did you play? Because Stratus over here, he was very big into competitive
Yeah,
Counter Strike.
we played version 1.6 competitively.
yeah, 1.6. I started 1.5. Says 1.5.
Yep. And it's ironic because I think it was one of the Cal matches we played. We played an all girl league, and we got destroyed. Honest to God, they came. I mean, because you remember how first round was, you really didn't buy nothing, but they came at us with knives the first round and successfully did significant
Wow.
damage. Yeah, it was mind blowing. So for all I know, it was your team.
Our team, it was frustrating because there was no other female. We're the only one. Oh, there was just one other female team in my town. But it was really bad. It wasn't. There was no competition between us. It was they didn't train. It was I don't know.
They didn't
We
put in the
didn't get
hours.
excited to play against them. Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, that team, and then we like to play against the boys because there was no female teams. There was this one team. They didn't train. It was. I remember we played Inferno and they would jump. They all jump. It was the strategy was really bad. They would all jump from the roof, and then you hear them like getting hit, and they lose health, and then they'll get the path, and they'll go like, and you see the heads like crossing, just like pa pa. The sniper would take like down three of them, and it was more fun to play against the boys at the time. But it was just we felt so cool. It felt like we're the Spice Girls. We arrived. We're like, wow, the Miffy ladies arrived. It's still today. We're still friends. It's really funny. It's like 20 years, 22 years relationship, friendship is. I feel they're like my sisters because I don't have sisters, right? I have brothers, and these are my sisters in life. Sisters in arms, right? I have brothers in
Literally.
arms, sisters in arms. We're still my best friends, so it's video game. Coming back to the question, if video games had been part of my life, like I always have been playing games. So when I did this course for Open the Pie Shop, I actually did a TED talk about this. He did this question that it changed my life. So the question was really simple. He said, first he asked us where you want your business to be 5 years, 10, 15 years, and we're all like, oh yeah, write it down where you want your business to be. And we're like, yeah, pie shops, pie in the world, 15 years, gonna be pie around the whole world. It's gonna destroy McDonald's, Brazilian pies. And then he was like, okay, now stop everything and think that, imagine that you're born today and you have no business, you have no courses, nothing, you've done nothing. You have the chance to start a new life, a white page, you get a page, you have a new life chance. And I actually started a new life. And he was like, where you want to be 5, 10, 15? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be making pies. Because I was already almost 30 years old. So if I opened a business, I would, it's like having a child. You have to be there for the business. So I knew that if I opened that business, I would be on that for full on. I wouldn't be able to open a business. It's just like, I'm really like a perfectionist, and when I put my head on something, I want to make it the best possible. So I want the pie shop to be like, yeah, the best pies in the world. And then I decided to move and make games. I was the first time I realized I could make games. I could work with video games. So that was like a day, a really important day in my life. If I would choose one important day, that was the one. Because then I moved from Brazil. I sold everything I had with my car, and got the money from the pie shop, and I look online. I found this course, and then I moved. I decided to move country, so it was a new life. I always wanted to live in Europe, so I was like, yeah, starting a new life. Why not going to where I want to go? And I moved to England, so it was a new language, new culture, new career. It feels for me that I lived two lives. This is my second life. This is crazy. So that I feel really young on the immature on the game development because 10 years, but yeah, 10 years because I could have so much more experience, right? Because I changed careers, but what I see also is that even the other careers that you do, it's all experience that you can take. I took a lot of experience from the pie business and from the psychology course, so it all comes to the game. So I think I would have done the game if I haven't experienced that.
No, I love that. That's why we always like to start at the beginning, because what we find is that, you best understand the person they are today by hearing how they got there,
Yeah,
versus just
and
jumping
what
in
led
at.
them to. But it's there's always like I think every time we've spoken to people about their paths, it's always some random thing that got them into the VR world.
Mm-hmm.
It's strange because we've seen people come from complete opposite side. I mean, even your story with, I mean, for all we know, we'd be buying your pies at the grocery store locally because they'd be international by then.
But you took the chance into VR. You stumbled into
Yeah,
it in school, just timing the way life works.
risk taking.
It's funny. And what's the VR scene and gaming scene in general look like in Brazil? Both while you were growing up and today. Now, obviously, there was no VR scene growing up. I was born in 1996, and there was no VR scene when I was growing up. But gaming in general and VR now, like,
Yeah,
what's the scene
VR.
like there?
VR is small here. It's sadly not released here officially, so you don't go like in the US. You enter like Target, you enter Best Buy, you find the headsets there, you buy the headsets, and I don't see this in other countries. Like even in Europe, you go like in Portugal, you enter stores, you don't find much. It's not so easy to find a Quest. I've never seen a Quest in the store. It's so sad. And in here too. So here you have to buy online from people that are reselling. So it's super expensive. Uh, on the top of the conversion of the reais to dollars, which is five usually 5 to 1. I don't know how it's today, but it's 5 reais $1, so it's 5 times more expensive. Plus, people is selling and making money on it, so it's crazy expensive. So here, unfortunately, it's still really small. But we have the company is working. We have a VR Monkey, which is a big studio here in Arvore. Is the biggest studios focusing VR. Um, I would say the biggest in Latin America. So, but VR industry here, we develop all for outside. It's really sad. We wanted to. We really talk about a lot the team and like about the next game, right? Because we plan to make 5 episodes, so there's two pixels to come at least. And we talk about we wish we could do an episode in Brazil, right? We always do in America, but we always ended up doing in America. We did the 1989 in England, because I think I should explain to people that don't know what is the game about, right?
Yeah, yeah. We can
But
take the
they
moment to do
probably
that
like, what
after.
what? But just before I come back to that, let me explain. So in the
Yep.
game, you're like I said, I was inspired by my childhood, right? So the game is about traveling back in time and reliving video games. So it's about we like to say a love letter to the history of gaming. It's not just a love letter to the games, but to the gamers. And I think we like playing with experience the gamers relate to the uh, funny moments like in 1989, for example, you were in a classroom and you are a 9 years old kid playing Game Boy at school. So you have to hide your game console from the teacher because if the teacher catches you, it's game over. So there's a lot of a game within a game mechanic, which I think is the most original thing about Pixel Ripped. It's not an emulator. We don't like emulating games. We like um, making an experience that become gameplay, the VR world, so that you have to deal with this gameplay world, the the VR world, the classroom, the teacher, so you can complete that 2D game that you play in the game device. And we have to build these two games, and both games are like influence from each other. So the game within the game mechanics really important. And we released 3 episodes now. 1989, that was the first episode set in the Game Boy era, and then 1995 is set on the oh.
That's actually pretty
That's
funny.
gonna be a really cool effect, you know. It's mind blowing.
Yeah. I'll fix that real quick.
Should keep it. But
Give me
fix
1
it. Yeah,
second.
fix it.
I felt the tack hit my head too on the way down.
It was funny, and the dog is there too. It's like, oh.
He's always working. That was great. He's looking at like. I like that he's there, like hanging out with you guys. Oh, every time we record, he thinks he's got a job to do, so he puts his best foot forward to do it. Reggie. Yeah, like I said, he's a podcast producer. Yeah, keeps the show running smooth. Sorry about that.
I can come back and try to fit with what just happened. So the game, the best moment in the game, like we just just what just happened. It's breaking the realities when the boss battle, both realities crash, and then the characters from the game, well, they come out from the screen, they break the screen, and they are in your reality. So we have this moment we call mixed reality, where we have both the 2D game world mix it together with the VR world, and that's like the ice in the cake, I like to say, of Pixel Ripped. So, summarizing, we released these 3 episodes. So, 1989 was focused on the Game Boy era. 1995 was focused on the Nintendo Sega Genesis battle, the release of the PlayStation 1, so the transition from 2D to 3D. And then 1978 was the first episode where we went back on time and show it, the one that we just released it now, where you're back in time and we show the origins of Pixel Ripped World. So it's focused in the Atari era. You are the developer and creator of Pixel Ripped. You work inside Atari, and you are creating the first Pixel Ripped game inside that world. And it's all about the villain. So we have, like I said, it's not an emulator. The game has characters and a narrative and story, and we reference many games, but we have our own game, our own characters. And Dot, the hero, which I do the cosplay and dress as, Dot, she in 1978 has to save the world because Cyblin Lord, the villain, he goes back in time and changes the inspirations from the developer to create his own game. He wants to be the hero and not the villain in this game and the main protagonist. So you go back and you have to go in these memories, in these moments where he interfered and he changed the inspiration, so the developer create his game. So you kind of go taking out Cyblin Lord from the game. And yeah, there's a big moment, it's a big spoiler, I'm not gonna say much, but we have the crash of the industry, and who caused the crash is Pixel Ripped, because the game is so bad. You took the villain, the game is so bad that you destroyed the industry because you took the villain from the game. So and the good thing about this episode in particular is that the first time we do a partnership with a big company. So this is the first time we release a game and we can actually say the name Atari. So we partnership with Atari. Atari published the game and they give us support. So this was like an unexpected thing that happened because we were like 1 year ahead of development, and we had this teaser trailer ready to release like in a week. We were ready to announce the game, and Atari and Ricardo, the CEO of Arvore, was at the DICE Award in Vegas for another game from the company. Yuki was nominated, and then he sit for lunch, and then three guys with Atari shirts sit on the same table, and he's like, "These people must be from Atari." It's so crazy because if you saw if one guy was with Atari shirt, you would just think, "Oh, maybe did one guy likes Atari," but three guys sitting together, no, they must be from Atari. And he's like, "I have to show you guys what we're doing. We're doing this VR game, and you are inside Atari." And they love it. They saw the teaser, and he wanted to see how we could do use licensing the games and licensing Atari games inside Pixel Ripped. And the CEO was there, Wade, the new CEO of Atari, and he's like, "No, that's easy. We want to publish the game." I was like, "What?" So that was it wasn't expected, and we were in beta phase at that time. We had to divide beta in beta 1, beta 2. There was a beta before Atari that we waited for the deal to get close, because those things take time. And then when we close the deal with Atari, we go back in the game. Okay, how we can use those IPs? They send us a list of like a bunch of games that we could use, and then we like searching and looking around what we could do. And we didn't want just to make emulate those games. We wanted to make something more, because if you want to emulate, if you want to play Atari games, there's a bunch of emulators, right? And we wanted to, how would be pixel ripped mashups with those games? How we could make them part of the world? So we tried to look for interesting characters. So the first one we saw was Bentley from Crystal Castles. He's so cute, teddy bear. And it was hard to find characters, because at those games at the time there was a lot of spaceships and aliens and asteroids. How are you gonna make a character with an asteroid rock? So it was, we look and we found this game that, and we never saw this game before. It's called Fast Freddy, and everyone fell in love with this game. We're like, oh my god, we have to put this character. It's so cool. He's flying around like crazy. He's flashing lights. He's killing birds. It's just crazy. It's like flying on those. How is the name of this? It's like a parachute. No, he's like flying around. He's doing this. The whole screen's flashing. It's a really crazy game, and it's funny, and we're like, we want to put this character in the game. And Fast Freddy, we had Freddy in one of the levels in at the second mission, where it's all about music and groovy. We call it Groovy Land, and Freddy's there doing these moves, and people look, and then it's really cool that some people came to us and like, wow, what is? Never saw this game, and I saw on Pixel Ripped, and I went and looked to find about Fast Freddy. People like, wow, this game is wild. And of course, we had to put Yas Revenge, so ER is there. And we built the Grave ER world. Um, and also we did, these are the biggest reference we did, was those characters in the bug hunt moment, where there is a friend of yours from the office that she asks you to kill the bugs in the cartridge, clean the bugs for her in some game cartridge. So you receive a game cartridge from Food Fight and Haunted House, Centipede, and then you have to kill the bugs. And there's this mini games moment where the bugs are flying around, you're killing them, but you have to stay alive in the game. So we tried to find games that would fit that mechanic. So it was really fun to do this in a way. There's other reference that are smaller. We couldn't do gameplay reference with all the games. There was a big list. But there is an arcade for Missile Command. We could use all the posters, all the art, and they have beautiful art like that. That time was the most beautiful art from video games history, because it's famous for that magic, right? You would see the box and like, wow, and then you see those pixels and you imagine those characters. So there's a lot of beautiful art that we could use and put in the office. And the characters in the office, they talk about games, so they talk about the name, they can say the name of the games, and they comment about, we did some uh, research, and they give us some information about how the Atari office would look. So we changed to look more like the Atari wall that they sent in the photo. There was this yellow and green patterns, and we put in the walls. And it was fun. It was really fun to do this. Like, we never able to do this before. We always had to kind of, oh, it's the Ultimate 32, it's the power system, and everyone like, oh, it's the Nintendo. I know, the Super Nintendo. And this is the Red Raccoon. It spins like this. And people, oh, this is Sonic. So it's kind of like it's so what the game is about, right? So we want really, it's an honor to be able to say Atari and actually have a 2600 on the desk, and you can actually play Atari. So that was I think the best thing about this episode was doing this partnership. We always wanted, but it never happened. So this is the first time that happened. I don't even remember what I was talking before. I was
That's the good thing about podcasting. It kind of just flows into the next thing. You know, you start talking and it leads to one thing. And, you know, I know Strauss over here was excited to see 1978 because he was born in 1970. So this is right up your alley.
The nostalgia was really cool.
Yeah. And I mean, it's one thing to have Atari partnership in the sense that they allow you to, use some of their titles, but to actually publish the game too is huge to have that type of support from
Yes.
them. What was it like having a publisher like Atari beyond just the ability to use, the licensing, but just, as a publishing role, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, they are the team that we work with, Ethan and Jason, uh, Shah. They are great. Like it was so easy to work with them. They respect so much our vision. They let us, like, we're super worried about, oh, we're gonna talk about the crash. Do they know about this? Because it's a big thing in the narrative. We can change now. And they're like, yeah, it's history. We have been there. It's no problem. You guys can, everyone knows it's history. You guys can do it. Can we put bugs in this cartridge and break food fight? And they're like, it's fine. It's great. Just make a good game. So they respect that the freedom they give us, like to make a good game. And that was the goal, the main thing. Not was never about show Atari as much as you can. It was more like use whatever you want and whatever makes the game better. And I think that was a really good relationship. I would love to work again with them. It's just, we're still working with them now. It's a post launch right now, so we're still doing updates and stuff. Localization is coming next. We released it just this week. DMU partnership with puts Easter. We hidden some figurines from DMU everywhere. There's a box from DMU. We thought it was really cool to look like DMU existed in the past, because um, if you go to the lobby of DMU when you're playing the game, you actually see it's like it's an Atari in a TV and all that. So it's I love Demio too. It's like my favorite multiplayer VR game for sure. It's so we are friends with them and we're talking like, yeah, what if we can we hit some Demio stuff in the game? And so we're still doing updates with Atari. We're still in touch with them. I think
Yeah.
yeah, the relationship it couldn't be better. I think the support they give to us, not just licensing the games, but also the time they invest in on development. So we had almost 1 more year of development to work in the game, um, and then we there was features that we had in the game that we could add those features back, that we had to cut it out. And one of the main features in the game now that people like the most is when you change something inside the game, the 2D game. You enter there in first person and then you change something. Imagine you shoot a dragon and the dragon was holding a bridge. The bridge falls over. You go back to the 2D game and then you see that in the 2D game now the bridge is there. You can progress with the 2D character and the platform. So we call this the multi-dimensional puzzles. And before we had to cut this out from the game, and when Atari invested and we had more time of development, we could make a better game. And this we had time to go back and we redesigned, re-level design of the 2D world and the 3D world, because in this game for the first time, different from the other Pixel Rip games, you can be in first person as Dot, as the hero, and you walk around and there is battles and you explore, you talk to NPCs. And before it was always a cutscene moment where you'd be just talking to someone and you just watching something. You wouldn't move, you wouldn't do much. The biggest thing you've done would be go in front of the mirror, put your clothes on, or play a mini intro game in the TV. So it was really important, the investment, to make this a better gameplay experience with this interdimensional puzzles. Before, the game was really linear. You would just go entering and going, and people like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just moving around. And when we introduced these puzzles, people like, no, I have to go and shoot that dragon so I can progress on that bridge. And people would go and come back and do stuff. And it's also a unique mechanic, because the ability of changing the game from inside and seeing that game change in the 2D, it's really cool. And
Yeah,
adds to the gameplay, which you are a developer. Fixing that game, it makes sense.
No, I always love the way that it's written into the universe of, like, in 1995 you're playing as Daniel, and you got to hide from your mom playing in that opening first level, and you're just playing as how old is Daniel, like 9 years old or something like that in 1995. So it's always a cool story. Then a game designer in 1978. It's
I will say in '78, the coworker that comes in to have you test her game for bugs scared the hell out of me. I
Yeah.
was at one point I was just I don't even know what I was doing. I think I was looking on the computer and stuff, and her head just popped around the corner because she was like, "Hey," and for a second I forgot that I wasn't playing like flat screen. So to see something out of my peripheral and look up and see her face there literally scared me for a second. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. I am alone. I'm good."
Yeah,
Uh,
this is the goal. We want people to be so immersed that they forget the real world. So for that to happen, we need to have we try to make it like a moment where you're just focusing the game, so you can have time to focus in the game. Also, the game has to be interesting enough so you would focus so much on that game that your brain do that magic of kind of blending in and forgetting you. When we play in 2D screen games, we don't pay attention much to the world, right? And in VR too, so you kind of your brain just accept that you are there and you focus on that screen. And then we add those characters coming sometimes, because if they would always be there, you wouldn't have that. And it's kind of the goal. We do this to surprise players and to say, "Wow, you are in VR! Whoa!" People had a lot of that with the father arrived in 1995 when he arrives with the Christmas tree. A lot of people said the same thing, like, "Oh my god, what's going on?" I thought I was at home and I'm here, and I thought someone entered my house or someone, and we remember that moment. We wanted to add in this game again, so it's all about that. We actually did a talk about this for GDC once with the team, and it was about how to increase immersion with nostalgic memories. And and that and we talk about the game designer in his moment. He talks about explaining this when we make players so immersed, and there's a lot of things together to your brain to get used to it. So your brain is used to some environments. This also helps with the immersion. A classroom, a living room, our office, or these environments make your brain more comfortable and easy to forget. Okay, I'm used to play a game in a screen. I'm used to play a game, and the controller you hold is also really important. So we always try to make the same buttons. We had to add two buttons on the joystick of the Atari controller. But, holding a controller in real life, that you're pressing buttons and you see your body holding also a controller, all that adds to that immersion. And also the most important thing is the game that you're playing. It has to be interesting. If you're playing something that, I don't know, if you're just watching a screen or you're not playing a game, or it was boring or it wasn't challenging enough, maybe you wouldn't have that immersion that you had.
yeah,
It's a
and
combination.
It definitely worked.
and even in 95, it's not a game that's the newest one in the series, but the graphics hold up, like the character models and stuff like that. So it's a really well polished series as well. And to kind of go back what you said with the Resolution Games partnership, one of our favorite studios for sure. Demio was actually the first ever game uh, that we reviewed on the podcast. It was our first ever episode. We were planning on doing Population One, and then Demio came out, and we just fell in love with it. It was all we were playing. And so I feel you entirely on the Demio thing.
Yeah.
I won't lie, when I first saw the announcement of the partnership, I knew it was unlikely, but there was a part of me that was hoping that you were going to be able to use Dot as a character for a limited time in Demio or something like that. It would have
Oh,
been,
that would be awesome. If they want
but
to
that
do it, we definitely would do it. That
yeah,
would be
that would have
great.
been because I can already see how it would work gameplay mechanic wise. You could easily just move her, shoot. That would be her attacks and
That'd be
everything.
awesome, right?
And I got to go in and look for the decor around the decor because
Yeah, I did not see that.
I love
I took notes though.
I love Demio's basement environment. It's
Yeah.
very well done, and it's totally easy to slip in a couple little cameos here and there. So I love that partnership.
And
Hopefully we see.
we have a basement in 1978. That's kind of why we we thought, oh my god, we have to put a demo box here because it's just so it's such a classic memory from playing RPGs. And we had this, it's the last level where you are in the basement playing RPG. And we wanted to reference that because it's a big thing in 1978, right? With Dungeons and Dragons, all this was, it was, we tried to reference as much as we can. We couldn't reference the pinball, which is, I'm sad, but we can't reference everything. But
Well,
there
again,
is
you have
this level of the RPG, and then we were like, wow, we have to talk to Demio guys and put a box here of Demio and reference this because this moment is so iconic, right? Um, 1995, as you mentioned, 1995 it's now available for the subscription for
Quest
Meta.
Quest Plus. Yep.
Yeah, Meta. So it's now with Pixel Ripped and Pistol Whip, which is funny that they did this joke because many people confuse them. Pistol Whip, Pixel Ripped, it's a sound so similar, and I love Pistol Whip. It was also a really happy deal to see these both games together because Pistol Whip is also one of my favorite games. If I'm showing VR for the first time for someone, I show, of course, Beat Saber, I show Demio, I show Pistol Whip. Because if they like Beat Saber, I'm like, do you want to see a shooter kind of like this? So it's a kind of now, that's why it's getting so alive again, 1995, because of the subscription. The company, we never had so much going on with Pixel Ripped. Now there's 3 games going on. Pixel Ripped, and we just working on the platforms, so the platforms keep changing. One thing about working with VR is that you have so many releases of platforms and headsets that you have to keep the game alive. So we had to do now for PlayStation VR, Pixel Ripped 1995. We have to work at some point on 1989 for the PlayStation VR 2. If you don't keep your games alive and working on them, they're just gonna be forget history. Like 1989, now people can just play. They cannot play on the Quest yet. They have to buy as a DLC, or they have on the PC, have a Steam version, the PlayStation version. Now it's the hardest. I think one of the hardest part of working with VR, and the best is that it changes so much. Um, we now have hand tracking. We're gonna have foot track. We're gonna have foot tracking. We're gonna do. We have to think about always mechanics and involving the game to use the best of the platforms. Right? We have mixed reality and all that.
Yep, mixed reality coming, and I mean, what's onto that? What's the reception of the release been like? Because I saw in the lead up, PlayStation VR, Sony was doing a really good job promoting Pixel Ripped. So since the release on all consoles, on PlayStation VR 2, on the Quest 2, what's the release of 78 been like reception wise?
Yeah, well, the people have been loving the game. The reviews are really good. Like it's all that we wait for. Is just the thing that I worry the most is the reviews. I wanna, especially the people that buy the games. I'm not talking about the reviews of uh, magazines, but I'm more about the customers, people that buy the game, and so far have been great reviews. We're still doing updates. We're still planning to do stuff. So we're still working. It's released, but we're still working on the game and updates. So yeah, it's for developers. I think the moment where you release is, I wouldn't say it's good, but it's also sad because the fun is over because we have fun making the game. So I'm looking for starting the new game because I'm like, okay, what we do next?
Well, and I love one of my questions I had going into this was how long will the series go? And then you answered that the plan,
5.
the plan from the beginning was 5. Maybe it goes longer, but the plan is at least these 5.
Yeah, and we hide the next game always inside the previous one. So inside 1978, you can find the year for the next game, and inside 1995, you could find 1978.
Interesting. That now I got to go in with eagle eyes and go hunting.
A well-hidden Easter egg that actually reference Adventure, the first Easter egg ever in history. No one ever found it. No one found it. This Easter egg.
Well, now they know to go hunting.
We should do a competition about it because I think it's so well hidden that even the team didn't find
Where in Pixel Ripped is Carmen San Diego? I mean, geez. So
it.
that'll be cool to see if somebody does find it.
It has me curious.
Yeah, no, I'm going in with eagle eyes now,
Yeah.
like I said, and
It's
going
really
doing
hard
it.
to find.
I had a feeling if nobody's found it yet,
But it is findable.
It
Right?
is.
it's
Okay.
not like you think you put it there and then 6 months later, oh shit, there was no.
I can give a hint that my hint is that this is a reference to the adventure Easter egg. So, but you're just gonna see the reference when you find the Easter egg, which is hard to find it. But when you see it, you're gonna know because it's exactly look like the adventure Easter egg where the developer hide his name in the game. It was the first ever Easter egg in history. So the developer of the creator of adventure put he hide his name inside the game because Atari at the time wouldn't put the name of the developer. It was just Atari, right? So we wanted to reference that because it's brilliant and making a Easter egg with a Easter egg, a reference to Easter egg with a Easter egg is great, right?
That's awesome. That's really cool. But
Oh, someone's got to find it.
yeah, I'm going.
Someone
in
has to
hunting.
find this. I mean,
Yeah.
we did
Yep,
so
I'm
much
going in
love.
hunting.
Yeah.
It's so
Somebody will.
hard to find.
Somebody will, but you've kind of set the standard having Atari as a partner on this one. Is the plan to have a partner on board for the next games, or there's no way to tell, or is it what's the plan?
We always love to do partnerships like this, but it's hard to tell if we're gonna be able. Like we tried in 1995 to do with Sony because it was the release of the PlayStation One, but we unfortunately didn't go all the way through. But it was actually it was something that we wanted, they wanted, but it's just paperwork at the end. It's complicated and
In big companies, there's a lot of
it's
channels.
Yeah, billion-dollar companies tend to do business a little
we're
different.
still we're still indie. We're still an indie company, right? We're still small. It's hard to get these big deals with, but I hope so. I hope that we keep doing stuff like this. It was really fun to be able to actually put the consoles and actually put stuff like to license games and actually have those games exactly the way they were.
Well, it is kind of ironic to see it not work out for 1995 where it fit, but then they promote 1978 so hard, when it's more Atari. Wonder if there's a little bit of that regret, like shit, we should have grabbed 95, But hindsight, like you said, you were an indie company. Now it's different when you have two other successful releases and you're going on for your third. Yeah, people tend to take you a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, we have been a VR game, a VR game about nostalgic and retro games, and now we are becoming retro itself because the game is now counting from my student projects almost 10 years. So,
And how big is the team now with,
with
third game?
20 people plus the people that support from the company. So the company has support teams where they work with multiple projects. So there's artists doing concept art, so they're doing posters, stuff like this, 2D art, 3D art, and there is animators. And then we have the core team where it was 20 people for 1978. 1995 was like 7 people, 1989 5 people. The company growed a lot. Now the company has more than 70 people since they start. When I entered the company was the founders, which are 3 people, and plus 7 people would be like a room, and we're all there 15 people in a room. So it's crazy to see the company grow so much, and we're surviving we survived the crazy wild west of VR, right? So I'm happy we have not just Pixel Ripped, but many other projects. We had Yuki, we had the Line. The Line won an Emmy Award, which was the first Emmy Award that Brazil won outside of the international category. So it was something, and now we have like 4 or 5 projects in the house, with Pixel Ripped. So
That was actually going to be one of my questions: is do you guys
future projects?
Yeah, besides Pixel Ripped, but 4 or 5 series unrelated to Pixel Ripped, you're saying?
yeah, we have Yuki MR that we actually won a prize in Brazil. That's now with best VR immersive experience, best MER experience. Um, I can't say all the
Yeah, no, I get it.
there
I
is
was,
a
I was
big one
hearing the,
coming. There is a big one coming. I can just say that's gonna be big. It's gonna be so big for VR, and I can't say
Ooh.
what it is.
Well, we're having a gaming showcase in February of 2024. Maybe things will be a little bit more ready to show off some stuff then. No commitments, no talking yet. But I'm excited to see what else you guys have in store if Pixel Ripped is the quality standard by.
what I really like is I think you nailed it, and I'll use 78 with the nostalgia. When you're able to hold the Atari controller, you're looking at even the Atari cartridge, like popping it in. The only thing it doesn't
Yeah.
allow you to do is like blowing it when it never when it never loaded. Yep, there we go. That's awesome.
I live in the. I didn't took from the plastic because I wanna keep it protected.
Keep it safe.
Yeah,
Atari-
you got to keep it in the plastic.
Atari made it with original Atari cartridge. This they printed it. This is exactly original Atari cartridge. It doesn't have the game inside, of course, but they did this original Pixel Ripped cartridge. It's so cool. We should do more of this because the only thing they did it the way if we had done a 2600 game, they did it exactly the way they do it today. So it's so nostalgic.
Those are
this
marketable.
is a crazy honor. I have to make this game now. In assembly
That is-
code, yeah.
You got to. Then you can have something to fill in it with. And for Dot, whose idea was that? Did you come up with the idea of Dot?
Yeah, well, it was. She didn't look so nice at the beginning because I didn't have an artist, but I draw in the paper and I was looking for. Okay, I want this character to be a badass female character. It represents all these heroes that I grew up playing. So I wanted her to, for sure, have a Mega Man laser gun. So the laser gun came from Mega Man. I wanted her to represent Mario, so she would collect and jump. And Peach from Mario is a big one because the pink came from Peach. I always play as Peach when I can. So she had this pink and the blonde hair. At the beginning, she had this Princess Leia hair, but it was really a lot of work for the cosplay, so I took this out.
And was the
And-
idea to always cosplay? I'm sorry to interrupt, but like, were you always planning on doing the cosplaying as her, or is that something that
No.
came later?
I came later because I always go to events cosplaying. When I go to a Comic Con or a game conference, I would cosplay. I would dress as Shira or dress like Naruto characters. I liked it cosplaying before, and then when we at the end of the course where we had the Eurogamer opportunity to show the game at Eurogamer, I thought, wow, well, I would dress like Shira because it's a game conference and I always dress as I had my costume with me and I was. But then I thought this is weird. People come to play my game. I'm dressed as Shira. This doesn't make sense. So I thought, wow, I should dress as my character, and then I came with that idea. That's when I changed it a little bit, Dot, to make my life easier, and I tried to buy everything on Amazon. So I bought the dress. I bought a cat necklace, which became the LED. It was a cat LED necklace. I put us the lights in the laser gun, and the laser gun was actually a plastic beam where I bought one of those cylindrical shaped ones, plastic, and then the lead was one shoulder, and the laser gun. I had a friend that helped me at university to kind of take out the end of it and put something so I could hold it inside, and I glued a lights on it, a Lego light that I bought. It was all improvised. And one funny thing about it is that the pink from Dot, the her color it was like bright pink. It was boring. It wasn't really good. It was this really bright pink, and I couldn't find that color. And we liked so much the laser gun that I was like asking the pixel artist if he could. I asked him if he could change the color of Dot to be that pink of the bean. And until today, it's the same bean color. So her color is from the garbage bin. How many cosplayers can do this?
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you feel like having that cosplay of it has helped the marketing and
A lot.
reach?
It was I think my best marketing idea I ever had because I'm like a walking booth. People see me and they pixel. So it's like imagine you walking with a banner holding up. It's like this, maybe even bigger because my head is so big now with the helmet and has lights too. And one good thing about it is that also people go to events, they like to take photos with the cosplayers. So I also get the market from the cosplayer side. I was now a big festival in Brazil, and a lot of people like, oh, we do photos of, can I do videos of you for this website for this cosplayers? And then and they ask which character is this, and like it's my game, it's this. So it's a good introduction for you pitch your game. So people first thing they ask is who you dress as. So instead of I go there and hey, do you wanna know about my game? People come to me and ask what you dress as, and then they can talk about the game. So one thing I ended up doing, like I have like 4 cosplays now. My brother does all the 3D printing. My aunts do the dress. It's all family thing. And the last cosplay I did, we have this belt, and I asked my aunts to put like a pocket so I could put business cards, because people come and they want to take a photo, and what we want from them is to post and tag us, right? Because then you get them to promote the game, and not you posting. So they, I had this business card. I would just go and tag us, tag Pixel Rip, tag Pixel Rip. And then the helmet, it's something that everyone wants to wear the helmet. So if the first helmet, it got smelly, after after event, everyone's sweating, a bit of sweaty head. It smells like dog, wet, dirty, really bad. Like dirty shoes, like it was disgusting. And then the new helmets now, they have a thing that I change and I wash it. It comes with a cover, so I put, because it's really cool to put in everyone's head. But you don't want to put something really smelly in their heads, and
No.
also you don't want to be wearing that. So this is something also people really like to take the photo with the helmet, and then the only thing I ask them is to tag us. So it has been working really well. I wear everywhere I go. I'm not ready today because my brother is fixing the helmet, and
That make that
he's
makes sense. Did you just show it off at a festival recently in Brazil? You said.
yes, I always
So
dress up, and then I'm going to Gamescom next. In Gamescom and Venice Festival, and I'm gonna be walking around with the costumes. So I'm gonna give a talk at DEFCON and Gamescom in Germany. Um, so I'm doing some fixing because Gamescom is big, and I'm gonna be walking days. So yeah, need to be everything. When I come home and I'm here, I always do like some fixings and upgrades in the costume to the next event. So because it's a whole day wearing that, so it gets break things and
understandable. And you had mentioned your family works on it, and our listeners know we record on Sundays, so we're passing the hour mark, and Sundays,
We have that guilt when taking people on Sundays.
well, it's easy for us. We're a father-son combo, so it's easy for us. We get to spend family time as we do this, but then we take other people away from their family on Sunday. That's not right. So we're hitting that 1 hour mark. But this was an amazing interview. Of course, we'd love to have you back on.
I think another hour could easily go.
Yeah.
Like I already
yeah.
know.
We know there's 2 more Pixel Ripped games coming at
Yeah.
least, and then plus whatever else they have in the works that they can't talk about.
I wrote down something big.
So
Something big is coming.
So I think we
It's
definitely
really
have
big.
to have Anna back on. I'll
I
pass
wish
it
I
to you
could
if you.
say.
Yeah, well, when you're ready, we'd love to have you back on for it. Out of curiosity, one last question from me, and then I'll pass it to Stratus if he has anything else to say. Obviously, no dates locked in. Just generally looking at how long games take to make. Do you have any rough timeline of when you would like to have the next Pixel Rip series out? I'm sorry, not series, but next Pixel Rip game
In 2
in the
years,
series?
at least in 2 years or less, I would love to get as soon as possible. It's just a Pixel Rip game takes 2 years, right? Usually to make a game. Uh, we managed to do 1995 in 1 year and a half. There was simpler game than 1978. Plus, when we got the deal with Atari, we kind of had this time period to wait for the deal to close, and then we had some extra time. But ideally, 2 years would be great to have another Pixel Ripped game.
Awesome.
So people
And,
don't wait so long, right? Just 2 years is a lot of time. People forget about it, and it's exciting. I think people will be really excited about the next episode.
well, maybe
Just find it
Meadow-
inside the game. It's there.
Yeah, I'm going hunting. Don't worry. But maybe Meta will throw 78 on their Quest Plus subscription service when the next one drops too. That was great timing. And Josh, do you have any questions before?
No, I got a whole notebook full of answered things I didn't even have to ask to get answers to. But I'm just grateful for the experience you're giving everybody. It's almost like no matter what age you grew up, there's going to be one of these years that you're going to be sentimental to.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're all not great, but it's like 78 is more my starting block of gaming in my life. So that one kind of holds true and dear. And I've picked up on a couple of some like those just the way the graphics are done on some of the things were definitely from
that era
of like 2600 games. It was some battle game that I used to play. I think it might have even been a tank one, but not their main one. But so I just like the nostalgia. It feels good and it's cool, and I do like the do one thing in this world which affects the
blending of
the
realities.
other part. Yeah,
the
it's
original
like,
mixed reality.
it didn't take me long to figure out that this is what I got to do. But no, I'm just enjoying it. So I'm excited to see what path they're going with the next one, and then what else is down the road for this studio, because this is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And where can people find you and Pixel Ripped on social media?
It's all Pixel Ripped. You can find the Arvore also, and it's all at Pixel Ripped. You can find on Instagram, on TikTok. We just opened a TikTok, so please follow TikTok because we just opened. So there's one follower. That's like 5. And Twitter, everywhere we're Pixel Ripped. On TikTok, we're Pixel Ripped Game. I think we created another. We have to figure out. But I think I created a TikTok account, Pixel Ripped, and anyway, long story. But for now, it's Pixel Ripped Game on TikTok and Pixel Ripped in Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or the other. And we are on Discord too, so join our Discord if you want to be more close to the game. We're doing an MA actually on Tuesday now. I don't know when the podcast is gonna come up, but we're gonna do just now an MA with the team on Discord. So we do a lot of stuff like this on Discord. We test the game earlier with the fans on Discord. They are actually in the credits. So before release, like months before release, they got to test the game, and we heard their feedbacks, and we're gonna do more things like this. And I'm planning to do more testing with the community earlier than we did with 1978. So join our Discord to be more close to us and hear your feedback. I think it's really fun. The community is growing of fans of Pixel Ripped.
Awesome. And I'm excited for what comes next. This was a great interview. Like I said, 100 more questions, but that's good. It means a good next one too. So this was a great interview. Thank you again for taking the time for us on a Sunday. I definitely appreciate it. And
thank you guys.
Hopefully we can have you back on in the future. So enjoy the rest of your day.
You
Ciao,
guys
ciao.
too. It was great.